I haven't told you guys very much about the bigger plans for Helmersoft. I realize that, and so I'm going to change that. It's hard to get invested when you know so very little. Obviously I need to start with Skyways. For as long as I've worked on Skyways, at least this version of it, I've kept notes, drawn my ideas on a whiteboard, and taken pictures of it, and planned a lot of stuff that I haven't really gotten around to discussing. Here is a list of crucial features I have written down for Skyways. I intend to implement them all, and then some on top of that. I will now go through and explain what they all mean. I'll do this unscripted because it takes forever to write a script for that much stuff. That only shows how passionate I am for Skyways that I can so easily picture and remember all of this. Alright, this is the unscripted segment for the explanation of the main features. So some of these are obviously self-explanatory, but first one is small boat mechanics, likely in third person. And what I mean is, since a lot of the game will be underwater and to do with water, it makes sense that there should be some sort of boat system, basically vehicles that you can ride in. Think Minecraft, when you press F5 and ride a boat, you know, sort of like that. Not 100%, but something like that. There are things that are more important than this, but this is something that I do want, and I wrote it down not to forget it as well. Other things: first-person movement, shooting enemies, all checked off, all self-explanatory. I can and will add more stuff, especially to the shooting and the enemies. But you know, I don't have to say anything more about that. Bosses and boss battles. Well, essentially what I'm thinking is that the main part of Skyways, the main area, will have a few different bosses to represent a few different things, and each of them will grant, each area in this will grant you a different weapon that will help you get through other places, and that will be stronger than other weapons. And these boss battles, you know, they'll represent different ideas, and it's all part of the greater idea of Skyways. So doors with keys, that sort of ties into the electricity system, really. I want the doors, a generic door script which I sort of already have, that you can interact with, and that you might need some sort of key to open. Alternatively, you could use the electricity system with the electricity gun, the coil gun, that I did last week. That is essentially used to activate different things, like the electricity in Portal and Portal 2, but in a handgun. And that is something that I didn't really explain last time, but I meant to. It just ended up that way. That's a good reason to have this supplemental Skyways review, in fact. Oh, nice underwater graphics. Well, when I wrote this, I didn't just mean like the effects of being underwater, like the blue fog and overlays and whatever. That's part of it, but I mean just in general having the nice aesthetic. I'm not looking to have a fully realistic art style. Art style is in fact the biggest question mark with Skyways. Everything else is quite concrete and clear. This, it's only something to check off. Each of these will be really satisfying to check off once I do. Inventory system, that's something you've seen me work on, perhaps not in a Skyways review, but on this server. And yeah, that's very important. For the item system, they will be tied together. That's the next point after the inventory. The item system is a good way to have the weapons, and you will be able to just swap them around however you like, and you can buy things, and that ties into, if we skip ahead a bit, to currency and store. That's something that's that I really want, is that you get currency from killing robots. You get like scraps or whatever, and you can use these to buy things on a store. to improve yourself. I mean, you can have different options for different types of play and whatnot, whatever you feel is best for you, with pros and cons essentially. And okay, well then let's go back to VCRs and tapes, etc. That's a big one. I've actually got this here. That's the VCR thing, but I'll show that on screen as well. That's a rather the VCR is essentially just a mechanism that ties into the greater idea of tapes. Essentially, all over Skyways, in different ways, you will be able to find these sort of VHS tapes or similar. I don't think I have the right to have literal VHS tapes, copyright-wise, but it will be a similar idea. And some of these will contain missions, like smaller, like game levels, like flashbacks. They're basically recordings of what has happened before, and some of them will be cutscenes, and all of them will be, some of them will be more crucial than others, but this will be where a lot of the side stuff is and a lot of the lore is. You find out more about what happened on the planet and what's going on. And some tapes, I was thinking with a VCR, it would essentially just if you complete the mission, then you can put the tape into a VCR, and then it essentially says, yes, this has been completed, you may do whatever it is this particular VCR activates. And so it's it's a bit like Redstone. So is the electricity system, but they are separate. And that's about it, really. So let's move on. Cutscenes I've already sort of explained, but of course there will be cutscenes that are in present day, that are outside of the tapes. Thematically appropriate music. I plan on composing most of the music myself. I've been playing guitar since I was little, and I feel myself getting better and better at it every day, honestly. I want a lot of metal music, but also some other things depending on what part of the whole underwater place you're in. And then I just want a dialogue system with speech mumble, which wouldn't be that hard. I've already made 2 dialogue systems. Tap Legend was a school project that I spent my entire final year of school on. I am proud of it and know that I learned a lot from it, as well as the surrounding business education and experience. So what happened with Tap Legend? It never died, but development halted when I had to prioritize Skyways instead. It is currently on hold. That is not its final destination, however. I have a great desire to revive it in the near future, that is, before Skyways is out. It will be a desktop game, since the mobile market is way too competitive and does not serve a respectful and honest business model very well. I will rework the graphics, fix and finish the loading of sounds and songs, add more features, make it more well programmed and consistent with the greater skills I have now. I'm unsure of the monetization model I will use, but I would not have in-app purchases or any crap like that. Perhaps the classic free demo version with the ads, and the rather cheap paid version with more features. Speaking of neglected games, what happened to Wave Shooter? The current version is available for free on itch. It has been for a while, but I did forget to make it public for a decently long stretch of time, which was rather embarrassing. Nonetheless, there are currently no plans to continue direct development on this title. The concept is cool, but the timing no longer is. I couldn't deliver on the timeline I presented, and the need for such a title changed. The closest equivalent now would in a way be Tap Legend, since it is a game that will be released before Skyways and will also help propel the company forward, while also being really good in its own right. Tap Legend might actually come out on schedule, considering I was discussing 2020 at the convention in March. So what about work? I've talked about it before on Skyways Review, so what is the deal? Well, I plan on working on something that isn't too similar to Helmersoft in order to give my mind some variety while still bringing in a food income. I wrote this script. I wrote this script at like midnight. I was very tired. I'd gone to bed at 9 p.m. the day previous, so my mind wasn't all there. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I plan on working on something that isn't too similar to Helmersoft in order to give my mind some variety, while still bringing in a good income and helping my career in another way than what Helmersoft does. While this will give me less time in the day to work on Helmersoft stuff, it will give me more time in the long run, as I will not have to worry about money. Time is money, after all. I have applied to quite some jobs so far, and I am going to apply to another one soon, perhaps even today. It is going to be in person, and I really appreciate that. Most companies just use the internet, and I feel they throw the cat out with the bathwater. The game girl bathwater. I can't believe that they would do such a thing to a cat. I will wear my nice suit, you know, the size small one that's still oversized. Oh well, even if I don't get this particular job, I will find a job to fill this purpose that I've set out for it. I will. Maybe I'll even find a cute girl there. As for other projects, what about Minecraft? While I enjoyed it a lot in the start, I have been overloaded with Minecraft stuff and I have gotten really worn out from it. I have recorded up to what has become episode 5. I plan on releasing at least this much eventually. Episode 4 is really long and is mostly finished. It just needs some editing. It will be worth the wait, but I feel like this series was an testament to how easily something can become a distraction. I think it was what I needed when I made it, and that it has fulfilled its purpose for now. I do have more ideas for things I could do there, but the passion just isn't as strong as it is in other projects. That's when you know it's time to focus on other things. I have had more fun playing on a server with my friend in my spare time, though that would be an unhealthy series. It might yield some funny clips at some point though. This should perhaps be relegated to my personal channel, however. So what about Ludum Dare and other game jams? I have no plans of quitting these. Ludum Dare 45 is coming up, and I look forward to it a lot. It will be my 5th Ludum Dare game, and I hope to throw in some sort of tie to Skyways, and perhaps hint at what's coming up with that. Other game jams are much less consistent, however. I posted a game for Discord Jam 2, as I said last week, and I am proud of it. However, I don't really feel so inclined to spend so much time on these things. They sort of knock you out for a day or two afterwards as well, at least productivity-wise. So it's better to focus on just Ludum Dare, the main game jam, for me. Along the way, I will of course do various other things as well. That's how life works. If you're ever confused about it, if you have any questions, come and ask me on my or in the comments section. There's a Q&A at 50 subscribers.